All right, good evening, everybody, or good morning, depending on when you're watching this. This is we got some something different for you. We got Pete from Pete's CD Vinyl World with us. How you doing, Pete?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. We got Aaron Mutha Alamer. What's up, sir? And the three of us tonight are going to discuss Metallica, but we want to talk about how Metallica changed from going from Injustice for All into the Black Album, and then going from Black Album into Load, and then from Load into Reload. And the three of us were, before the video even started, we were talking about how there's differences with just crazy differences even between these three records. So we're going to get into it right now. We're going to start with the Black Album, and then, like I said, we'll move into Load and then Reload. And I mean, you know, there's been a lot of talk, guys, about these records. And I remember as a kid when the Black Album came out, you know, we were all used to this album, which was like a thrash masterpiece. I mean, there's a lot of progressive elements in this album as well. And then I remember when the Black Album came out, I remember in the mall, I was walking to the tape store to get the cassette. And my friend stopped me. He's like, I don't know if you want to buy the new Metallica record. It doesn't sound anything like Injustice for All. There's like some like two ballads on there, and James Hetfield is like singing love songs. And I mean, of course I bought it anyways, but I mean, that was a big shock for a lot of us going from this into the Black Album. I don't know if you guys want to share maybe some of your initial thoughts when you heard the Black Album for the first time.
Well, I don't remember exactly, but Enter Sandman didn't really come out that long before the album came out. I remember getting it. It was almost like the same time, right?
Yeah.
The album.
Yeah.
Maybe and I remember getting it, and my friends and I were all big Metallica fans at the time. They were probably at the time our favorite band. We had seen them on Injustice for All. So we didn't at the time have that idea that, oh, these guys sold out and they got this big name producer. I think there was still enough of the old school stuff on there, like Holier Than Thou and Of Wolf and Man. But I just think that this is sort of the direction they wanted to go in, the more groove oriented stuff. Even like on, say, Harvester of Sorrow from Injustice for All, sort of like that looked like the direction they were going in. So yeah, at the time, I know it's known as like their sellout album and everything, but at the time, like my friends and I didn't really think that of it.
Right.
Especially when we saw them live on the tour. It was still the old school fans. It wasn't like I don't want to say posers later on, but you know, it was still when you saw them live, it was still the same crowd that was there for Injustice for All, you know?
Right. Aaron, what about you?
Well, when I first heard the Black Album, I absolutely loved it. I mean, I remember going to a friend's house. We were partying. We'd always just go to different people's houses, and they had a single for Enter Sandman, a cassette single. Hearing that, and I just play it over, because I thought it was really unique for Metallica. And it was really cool hearing that change to me. And the problem with the Black Album to me was not me, because I listened to it a lot. But what would happen is I go to parties, or go to things, like we'd go up into the mountains and there would be a person with a big truck with a stereo, and they would just put it on a loop and not hear anything else for the whole night while we're drinking beers and everything. And I got totally burned out of it after the 200th time of hearing it within 2 weeks. Which and it's still hard for me to listen to it. I went back and listened to it 3 times this week, and it was still, it's like it just doesn't have the same impact it had when I first heard it.
Right.
But I actually liked it, but I realized something this week when I was listening to it, is that they cut those songs down, a lot of them around 4 minutes.
Yeah. And
they took away a big part of what Metallica, what made them special. The groove thing was really cool. I like that. But what they changed the most was that Metallica always in their songs, they'd have another part. They'd have that riff going all the way through it. They'd always have like another riff coming in that's related to it. and it's like, oh, that's the best part of the song. You know, even going back on like Seek and Destroy, they're like the end of the song has these other killer riffs in it. Like, oh wow. And they took that away and just made it like, so it just got kind of all flowed, and there was no changes, took all the progression out of it. And now I don't think it's aged as well because of that. The more you hear it, it kind of gets old because it's the same, like Sad But True is a great song, but it kind of has that same exact thing the whole way through. It doesn't have any like other little part that catches you in it, where a lot of their old stuff did, which is why I don't think it's aged as well. But I do like it still. There's a few songs in there. I never really cared for the ballad.
Nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters. For some reason, I never cared for that song, even when I first heard it. But I liked Unforgiven a little. It wasn't like I didn't like it because it was a ballad. It just didn't connect with me. It still hasn't. To this day, I've been hearing it probably 1,000 times. But I like most of the other stuff on there a lot. And yeah, it's a good album. It's just not one of my favorites of theirs because of that. It doesn't have those hooks that the other songs would have, like Creeping Death, and go all the way through. Then all of a sudden they'd have that breakdown, the chanting, you know, die by, or just little riffs they'd mix in. They quit doing all those other little riffs, and that kind of is what changed the sound the most to me.
Well,
I think that's sort of them, like, and Justice for All had so many riffs within those songs, and there were so many songs on that album that were like 7, 8, 10 minutes long. This was sort of their like response to that, kind of like Iron Maiden after Seventh Son. They did No Prayer for the Dying, which is like almost like a garagey album.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, I guess they were almost probably exhausted from doing all of that constant writing, and I think probably losing Cliff Burton. He was, I think he was responsible. I think he was like, was he classically trained somewhat? Or
I think
he
so.
was definitely the one that had the most musical theory background. So I think they lost a lot of that when he passed away. So at that point, I think they wanted to, but I think also, and this is just my opinion, I think by that time in Justice for All, they were the kings of thrash metal, you know?
Yeah.
And they sort of had reached that. And I think now they wanted to just be the kings of metal in general. Mm-hmm. But while they were recording this, they didn't realize that grunge and alternative was coming on. So actually, they sort of lucked out and they just became the biggest band in the world, period.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that was their ultimate goal, always just not to be a thrash metal band. They wanted to be the biggest band in the world. So
yeah,
they lucked out with the timing also, sort of.
Yes, I agree.
To piggyback on what you guys are saying, like you were saying, Pete, and Justice for All came out in 1988. And like you said, they were the kings of thrash metal. And I remember reading some interviews somewhere, basically Metallica was like, they said to themselves, we've pushed thrash metal as far as we can. We've done everything that you can with thrash. And they're like, we've played as fast as we could. We made the songs as long as we could. And I think they felt like they needed a change. And if you think about it, the Black Album came out in 1991. So the musical landscape was changing. And I think Metallica kind of, like you guys have both said it, but I think Metallica had their, ear to other bands and going, hey, we can't do this. We can't keep doing this thrash thing and not become the biggest metal band. And like you were saying, Pete, they wanted to be the biggest metal. They wanted to make a record that would stand the test of time. And that's what the Black Album is. I mean, the Black Album is one of those albums that you hand down to your kids and be like, all right, it's almost like Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street, or Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, or
it's the Heavy Metal Rumors.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
And like you said, I think it was the perfect timing too, because with the musical landscape changing, with grunge coming in, Metallica kind of fit right into that. And bringing Bob Rock in, I don't think they were happy with the sound of this. I mean, do you guys think they were happy with the sound of Justice for All?
They used the same producer from Ride the Lightning through that album.
Right.
And I think he wasn't, I don't want to say he was like a small time producer, but he was probably just the guy that when they went to Elektra.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just assigned to them.
Well, I've never heard of this guy before. His name is Fleming Rasmussen, I think. I mean,
yeah, he did Ride the Lightning through Injustice for All their stuff.
Well, Ride the Lightning sounds a hell of a lot better, and Master of Puppets sounds a hell of a lot better than this does. I think, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Ride the Lightning is their worst sounding album. I think that sounds like a typical 1984 thrash album. It doesn't. Yeah. Master of Puppets, I think, sounds really good. It's got that real clean, punchy sound.
Right.
But also, it's funny what you're saying about them changing and this and that. Every other musical genre, it's okay for a band to change. You know, the Beatles, the Stones. Heavy metal fans are just like, it's like these are our bands, and them getting any kind of mainstream success, it's almost like it offends us if we were fans of the band like early on, you know. So I think, you know, a lot of fans were put off by maybe the MTV success and everything because, you know, metal in general, our fans just want, you know, you guys do this, you don't do this, you know. But like the Beatles can do anything, and the Who can change, and U2 or whoever. But like metal bands, it's like this big stigma for them to change, you know.
Well, and I think what was cool about this record too, or maybe not cool, depending on what you think about it, is that this was probably the first album you could play with your girlfriend sitting next to you. Like, you're not going to put on Ride the Lightning, you know, but if you put on the Black Album, your girlfriend's going to be singing along to a lot of these songs. Nothing Else Matters, you know, The Unforgiven, even Enter Sandman. It's like they became so mainstream that everybody then could identify with Metallica, and maybe they couldn't with Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets or Injustice for All. But with the Black Album, they were able to write songs that could transcend like different people's interests. And like I said, jokingly, your girlfriend could start to sing along with some of the songs. Aaron, you look like you were going to say something.
I lost it in my train of thought.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
You know, I want to mention too, like Aaron, you were saying like a lot of this stuff was overplayed, and I agree. Like, I mean, we heard Enter Sandman so many times, and Sad But True, and Wherever I May Roam. You know what? Today, though, I was really liking the last three songs.
Mm-hmm. Struggle With It is my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, The God That Failed is awesome. And that bass in that, that's such a cool bass line. And then My Friend of Misery, that is such a cool tune. In the middle, there's like this, it's almost like it sounds like a country guitar almost a little bit. And I had forgotten about that. And then it goes into this, it sounds very progressive, almost like Yes, a solo in the middle of that song. And then The Struggle Within, which is probably the fastest song on the record.
Yeah.
I love those last three songs.
Yeah, I never heard them a lot on the radio. It was from other people just playing them around me. And, you know, I'd want to hear other albums as well. And they would just play them on a loop all night. That album, that and No More Tears for Ozzy. That's why I can't listen to those albums anymore. It's hard for me because there was, for some reason, it's because the girls liked it too, so they keep playing them.
Right.
Which is all right, but I mean, I got so sick of hearing them. Even though, you know, at first it's like, yeah, play it. I want to hear it again. I want to hear it. And then pretty soon it's like, oh my God, no, not again. Just because it's so many times in a row of hearing it.
Right.
But I agree. And the what is it? My Friend of Misery. Yeah, that album, that song is the most like their older stuff because it does have a couple changes in it from this album. Most of them are just really straightforward. Like Sad But True is a good riff, but I mean, after you hear that riff 1,000 times, it's like,
yeah,
I wish there was just a little added thing in there somewhere, you know, for something.
And going through the songs, I mean, it opens up with Enter Sandman, which I still love. I mean, that's their signature song. Before that, it was One, probably, or Master of Puppets. And then I think Enter Sandman became their signature song. Sad But True is heavy song, but it's you know, we hear it a lot. Holier Than Thou, I never really liked for some reason.
I actually like that one a lot. That's one of my favorites.
The Unforgiven, I like. Wherever I May Roam, I like. Don't Tread on Me is another one. I'm like, it's okay. But like I said, the side 3 and side 4 of the vinyl, Through the Never, is a great tune.
Yes.
Nothing Else Matters. It's the ballad, but I still like it. And then Of Wolf and Man, we didn't talk about that. That's a heavy song.
Yeah.
Yeah. My two favorites are A Wolf and Man and Struggle Within.
Yeah.
And
mine are Through the Never, My Friend of Misery, The God That Fell, Holier Than Thou. All those are my favorites.
yeah, Don't Tread on Me. I don't really care for it too
Yeah.
much either. That one's kind of, if they had, I think they had left off that one and another one, it would almost be like a perfect album.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I remember when I was listening to this as a kid going, and it would get to the song, The Struggle Within. I'm like, yeah, this is heavy. Like, I was almost hoping like there'd be another song like that on the record. Like they could have, I mean, I am all for, you know, changing sound and updating sound. But I also feel like it's important to stick to your roots as well. I feel like The Struggle Within, that was a fast song. And Enter Sandman's very close to being faster, but I felt like they needed just one more like fast record.
A lot of those songs, they needed another little notch of something, I thought.
Yeah.
When going through, it's almost like they simplified it almost too much at times, where it's really good first, but then if you hear it a bunch, it just kind of sounds the same because it doesn't have the variations in the songs.
Maybe Lars got tired. Maybe Lars got tired of playing fast.
Maybe all
Well,
of it.
I think Struggle Within is the only one that actually is like a true thrash song. The faster songs like Holier Than Thou and like Through the Never, to me, aren't like classic thrash. They're almost like happy thrash. You know what I mean? They're not.
Yeah.
Even some of the songs on Load and Reload, the faster songs, to me are not the same as like classic thrash.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I don't know. A lot of people talk about Lars being a terrible drummer now. Is this where people started to talk about that? You hear all this stuff on YouTube about.
Yeah, I ignore those people. He's a great drummer. I saw him live 4 times. He was great every time.
I don't know where that comes from, really, or.
Yeah.
It's because he doesn't do the blast beats, which I don't actually like. I mean, I like it a little, but if you don't do the blast beats now, they think you're not a good drummer because you're not going a million miles an hour with your feet. But
how is he with? I mean, I'm not a drummer. How is he with double bass? He sounds like he's okay.
No, he's a great drummer. I think I like it. I've always liked Lars.
I mean, I watch early YouTube videos of Metallica when they were first coming out. They kick some serious ass. Like Around the Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets. If you watch those tours,
they kill them all too.
Yeah, they
Kill
played.
Them All, I think, has a killer drum sound. Not to go off topic, but yeah.
But they were playing lightning speed. So, like, I agree with you. Anybody who says Lars is a terrible drummer, I don't agree with that.
Yeah. I think he's great. They're all great musicians. But the one thing that really bothered me about, I kind of thought was hypocritical of them, was the video for Nothing Else Matters. Yeah. When they're sitting there throwing darts at Kip Winger, Lars was, and on their slow song. So it's their slow song, and they're making fun of Kip Winger, who's actually a really good musician, which kind of always bothered me. So I was going to put my Winger records up there just to honor Kip, but.
Well, it's funny because, like I was saying, how by the time this album came out, all those bands had been killed off. That all happened while they were recording this album. So it's almost like they might have been in a bubble thinking that all those bands were still and really at that, he should have been throwing darts at like Kurt Cobain or something, Winger was already like.
It's amazing. It's amazing how much Alice in Chains, a little band from Seattle, influenced Metallica, the big band, like that quickly. I think they really forced them to take a look at their music and change it a bit because of how much Alice in Chains was kicking ass on their first couple albums. And I think it forced Metallica to change a bit more than Nirvana. They don't have a Nirvana sound at all, but they do have a lot of Alice in Chains sound.
You mean on like Load and Reload, right?
Yeah, and a little bit in the Black Album too. You notice it a little bit. That's where the groove.
Well, the fact that they used Bob Rock, I think, was a part of the initial backlash. Like, you guys sold out. This guy produces Motley Crue, and he was an engineer for Bon Jovi, and he did all that type of stuff. So that's where I think the initial like sellout stuff came from, like using Bob Rock. But.
Yeah, I think Metallica was definitely chasing the money. I think they saw how Dr. Feelgood just blew up, and they wanted a record like that. But I want to ask you guys before we move into the next couple albums, the hype sticker on the Black Album says top selling album of the past 25 years. Over 16 million albums sold in the US. So I'm going to ask you guys, like, why do you think this album struck a chord with people? Like, why do you think it was so big for Metallica, and why do you think it was so big for metal in general?
I think it was a combination of that it just wasn't a metal album.
Yeah.
You know, it like even the biggest metal albums before that, I'm just pick one at random. It was still a metal album.
Right.
You know, there was people. A lot of people bought this maybe because of Enter Sandman, maybe because of Nothing Else Matters, but there wasn't much other metal being played regularly on MTV when this came out. So it was like, I don't want to say it was being stuffed down people's throats, but the other metal bands weren't getting exposure.
Right.
Also, so they just lucked out, I think, really.
And
right
then,
place, right time.
And what were you saying?
Kind of cornered the metal market for a time. It was perfect timing, like you said.
Yeah.
Just right in between the change to the grunge and alternative, and it just grabbed the metal guys, and everyone had liked, just even hard rock liked it.
And look at what happened afterwards. Like, all the other metal bands started changing their sound. Like, suddenly, you know, Testament came out with crap, I'm trying to remember the name of the album, but I'm going to mention Megadeth Euthanasia. That was like Megadeth light. You know, it's a great it's a great album, but it's not Peace Sells, it's not Killing Is My Business. I'm trying to remember the name of that Testament record now.
Was it The Ritual?
The Ritual, yeah, which I love. But there were ballads on, and suddenly now all the thrash bands were doing ballads after the Black Album. So the Black Album was like the blueprint for these other metal bands to try some ballads out too.
Now, Testament actually had a ballad before that on Practice What You Preach, though, called a ballad. But I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying there, though.
I guess what I'm saying too is that I feel like everybody started to slow down. You know?
Yeah, I think I really think that Anthrax got rid of Joey Belladonna as a result of not maybe Metallica, but just the music scene changing, because Joey Belladonna, even though he was a great singer, he looked like a singer from a hair metal band. You know, he had the big, you know, bouffant hairdo and stuff. And Joey, what's his name? John Bush, I guess, was a more credible singer. Yeah. You know?
Well, he also had a more gravel tone to his voice too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They were going for a more detuned sound, I think.
But I think my point is here too. I think Metallica was still in control and with the Black Album. I feel like everybody was still following Metallica. Oh, what's Metallica doing? Oh, Metallica, they slowed down a little bit. They got beefier with their sound. They got more groove. They have some ballads, and I think other bands were following them. I think that's a good segue though, because with the Black Album, I feel like I said, Metallica was still in control, but by 1996. When Load came out, I feel like Metallica was starting to be followers a little bit. So, I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, you guys want to start talking about Load a little bit here now? Because let's just look at the back cover. I mean, I remember seeing that.
I think that's part of the reason that the album was, you know, part of the backlash was more of the visual thing inside.
Yeah.
But they only wore the mascara and stuff for the pictures in the album. Like when you saw them live, they still like were wearing black t-shirts and jeans just like they always did. It was just the photographs for the album. But I mean,
they were following trends a little bit with Load.
I personally don't. I still think Metallica was still like in their own bubble as far as what they wanted to do. I just think they were just getting older and mature and still wanted to just go in this groove direction.
I mean, I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here. I hear a lot of Soundgarden in here. I hear Alex.
Yeah. I definitely hear Soundgarden and Sabbath and Corrosion of Conformity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember like Albatross and all that? To me, I hear a lot of that with this album.
Why did this piss us off so much? Like, Metallica is wearing like stylish clothes and they cut their hair. Why did this piss us? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it didn't piss you guys off.
I actually liked it a lot when it came out.
I did too,
I-
but go ahead.
I wasn't gonna say, I almost was like, again, the timing thing. This is 96. It's not 93 or 94. So grunge itself was almost dying out.
Yeah.
So they put this out almost at the right time. And even though it did have some backlash, it was still a huge album, and I liked it a lot at the time because I didn't really at the time. Maybe I was just listening to more regular heavy metal as opposed to thrash and stuff. So, I liked it a lot. I mean, I some of the songs in here I don't like a lot, but I think "Ate My Bitch" is a pretty weak opening track.
But Pete changed their logo too, and
Yeah.
I'm pointing out stupid stuff here, I know, but this is
No, that is part of it. They didn't want to be known as a metal band anymore. They're just Metallica.
Yeah.
This is where Metallica the band became Metallica the brand.
Yeah.
And you can't blame them, because once you do that, you're guaranteed to be like an arena band forever and part of pop culture.
I want to mention one more thing about the photos. If you look inside, these photos, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this guy's name right. I think it's Anton Corbin is his name. And he was the guy who did photographs for U2's Achtung Baby, and he did photography for Depeche Mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Metallica was like tapping into that. Well, you had mentioned arena. I think they were just tapping into what was like the thing there. You know what I mean? And I think they were searching for that superstardom, and they were there. They got it. I just think it annoyed some people along the way. But I would go for the money too.
I think I could see the original. If you were fans of the band from early on, yeah, you're like, these guys are turning their back on not just us, the whole metal scene.
Right.
But when you think about it, though, them cutting their hair didn't really bother me that much. They had some of the worst hair. I mean, these guys were like some of the ugliest guys in a band ever. So,
yeah,
I mean, their image wasn't great to begin with. So, I mean, It didn't really bother me that much that they cut their hair and everything. But, I could see how a lot of the original fans were turned off by it.
Aaron, you look like you're ready to say something here.
Well, I think the reason a lot of fans had problems with them doing this, is because they always preached, "We'll never cut our hair, we'll never do this," and they would berate other bands for doing it. They had done that like during Master of Puppets and Justice for All, and they would make like they were making fun of Kip Winger. That's just one thing, but they always, like in interviews, would talk about how those when Kiss cut their hair in the elderly, stopped listening to them. Stuff like that. And so I think that's what it was. I thought a lot of people thought it was hypocritical because they always preached that they would never do that. And I think that's what had something to do with it. And to me, this album is my favorite of the three by far. It's not even close. I love this album. Every song on it, actually. Even Mama Said I like. I think this has it like took the Black Album, the sound of the Black Album, and just kind of expanded on it, where they got back a little bit of they just added a little bit of the progressiveness back into it at times on the record, and with the grunge influence, alternative influence. And I love this record. Cure, the song Cure, and Until It Sleeps. For some reason, I love Until It Sleeps.
I did too.
I just love that song so much. I think that's my favorite song on any of these three records, and followed closely by Cure. I love Cure. When I first heard that, I was like, oh my God, it's like an old Metallica song. I just loved it. And stuff like Thorn Within, Wasting My Hate, even Hero of the Day and Bleeding Me, House of Jack Bill. I love this album. I think this is their best album of the New State era, except for Injustice. Well, after Injustice. I really love the 598 EP too. I got to throw that in. It's a classic. But this album here, I think, has aged the best. When I went back and listened to all of these again this week, this is the only one where I didn't want to skip through a couple songs here or there. I just love the whole thing.
I'm not a great fan of Ronnie. That one I don't really like.
I don't like Ronnie.
Probably the weakest. That and Mama Said are probably the weakest. Mama Said's good, but it's weird to hear the steel guitar and Metallica. But
I like that song a lot. I think that's the last really good ballad he's written. Period.
Yeah.
Everything's all about since then. I'm not really big on. And Wasting My Hate, to me, that's another one of those happy thrash songs.
It is.
For some reason, they at whatever after Injustice for All, they could never tap into that original aggressive thrash thing. Even
They
when
weren't
they
mad
tried.
anymore. They weren't mad.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, and you can't. And some fans don't understand that as you get older as a musician, you're not going to do the same. You know, the first album they wrote those songs when they were like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
You know,
and they were pissed off at the world.
Yeah, like, you know, I'm a totally different person I was in my early 20s. I mean, there's no comparison to how I am now to what I was back then. So I would not be doing the same thing. As you age, you just naturally change, you know, it just happens. Yeah. Especially when you get money and fame and, you know, but that's besides the point. They're still them. But
I agree with you. I mean, it's 2021 and I still think that this album sounds fresh. I don't think it sounds dated at all.
Right. And I mean, I like it. I'm not a big fan of their last two albums. I think they're just trying to look for something that's not there anymore. You know, they keep trying to, we're going to go do an old school Metallica album. Well, you can't, because you're not in 1986 anymore. You know, like there's some good riffs on it, but there's something missing, some natural element missing, you know?
Because they're not hungry, because they weren't young and broke and like they were, like he was saying. It has a lot to do with it.
We weren't going to talk about Saint Anger, but I like Saint Anger better than Death Magnetic, and I like Saint Anger better than Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I mean, that's just...
Yeah, I think Death Magnetic is their worst album. My Apocalypse is a great song, but I think the rest of it is all contrived, really.
See, I love Death Magnetic. I think it's their best one they've done since Saint Anger. I think Saint Anger is better than any of these three, and I think Death Magnetic is. And I think this is the weakest era of Metallica, even though it was their most popular commercially. This era, this little section here, I think was their weakest era, if you go back and listen to the records, except maybe this one.
So it sounds like we need to do a video on Death Magnetic, S&M, and freaking Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
I like those a lot.
But one thing I want to point out is Load and Reload was the first time Kirk Hammett played rhythm guitar on the albums. That's one of the reasons I like him so much, because all the albums through Justice, and I think he went back to it on their last two, James Hetfield played all the rhythm guitars, everything. That's why they had that same mid-rangey scoop sound. Yeah. Like you can hear the distinction on these albums with the different rhythm guitars. Before, Kirk would just do the solos. That was it. So I thought
a signature sound too, though.
Yeah, but yeah. I just thought they had more of a live sound, and it was something different, you know. That was just another thing I think they had exhausted. You know, they couldn't. Yeah. You know.
I want to say too, the topics of their songs changed, starting with the Black Album as well. Like, you know, they were singing, you know, Creeping Death and Fight Fire with Fire and, you know, Motor Breath. And then suddenly on Load, you have them singing Ain't My Bitch, which is sort of like a slangy sort of term. And then 2x4. So, you know, the song titles, and I think they were trying to tap into more like of a universal thing that everybody could identify with. Like, not many people can identify with the song Creeping Death or the Call of Cthulhu, you know, but somebody can identify with the song Mama Said, or, you know, Until It Sleeps or something like that. So I guess they're more universal topics that they were singing about.
The song The Outlaw Torn, I mean, that's a heavy song. That's a direct ripoff of like Falling Off the Edge of the World, right? From
Oh, is it really?
Is from Mob Rules?
Yeah, Falling Off the Edge of the World is from Mob Rules. Yeah.
Like that riff is that is the riff from the song. Like,
oh, really? I'll have to listen to that. And Mob Rules is my favorite Dio era Sabbath album.
Yeah.
I like it better than Heaven and Hell, but that's just me.
They're right neck and neck for me. I love them both.
But I mean, so we kind of went through these songs on Load, and I agree with you guys. I like almost all of these songs. I mean, The House That Jack Built that's a heavy freaking song. I don't like Ronnie. I have to be in the mood for Mama Said, and I like country music, but I have to be in the mood for Metallica doing something like that. Poor Twisted Me, I'm a little iffy on. But for the most part, I think these songs are all really well written. I think they're well played. I think they sonically they sound amazing, and the band is very. I mean, they're talented, you know, and it comes through on these songs.
And I'll have to say, it sounds great. Load does. It sounds better than my CD. I was listening to both of them today, and the album, the vinyl sounds better.
And that's freaking cool right there. That's a cool album. That would have been a cool cover. But
yeah,
you guys want to say about Load?
Ate My Bitch. That's the biggest disappointment to me, the opening track. You know,
I love that song. That song just, I really get into that one. That's one of my favorites, actually.
I think it, like, if they had a better opening track, that would have just made this album like so much better. You know, some kind of intro, like, you know.
Anyway, I get you.
Like all their albums always had like well, Ender Sandman, I guess, didn't really, but you know, one of those fade in intros. Or
I think James started to get kind of cute with his vocals at this time. He started to do that whole thing like the ooh yeah, ooh
yeah,
ooh, yeah, and
that's
like
when
he was never, yeah, he was never doing the oohs and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
well,
I like it, but
did you see the documentary about the making of the Black Album?
no.
Bob Rock was the one who was showing him to do that stuff because there's a line in Enter Sandman where he's like, yeah. And there's a couple times before that he was like, woman, and he like just came up with all these stupid things before he came up with like, yeah, you know, because he didn't really know what to do. Because Bob Rock was the one encouraging him to do like that sort of thing.
I'll have to watch that.
So Bob Rock trophyized him.
He what?
He trophyized him.
Trophyized him, yeah.
You would never be able to do your Hetfield impressions if Bob Rock wouldn't have done that.
I wouldn't, yeah.
And that would be a crime to the world.
So, okay, so before we talk about Reload, like, I'll give you guys a choice. You tell me whether you like Load or Reload better.
Load.
I would say Reload, just because of there's some songs I like on Reload better, but I think overall the album has like more weaker songs.
Yeah,
you know?
It's not even close for me.
The middle section of Reload to me is pretty weak.
Well, I'm going to be the outlier. I'm picking Reload, and for the main reason, the song "The Unforgiven," or I'm sorry, "The Memory Remains."
Yeah,
that's got to be one of my favorite. That's got to be a top 5 Metallica song for me.
That's one of my bottom 5.
Oh, really? I love that song, and
I like it too.
And then they brought in, that is such a cool, her name is Marianne Faithfull. I didn't know to look it up, but she does the vocals in that song. And I think that was so cool to bring her in because the song is about just a star that's sort of, you know, she's older now. Nobody knows her anymore. Sort of the Sunset Boulevard fallen, you know, movie star. I mean, that song kicks some serious ass. I still put that in my car now, and I'm like, man, that song is good. And you've got fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Ooh, there's that, ooh, yeah. Devil's Dance is sort of like Sad But True's sister.
I was going to ask you guys about Devil's Dance.
I love
it.
Devil's Dance at Woodstock 94, like way before even Load came out. I could have sworn they had played it, but they didn't even put it on Load.
That's possible. I don't remember that, but it's possible.
You know if they recorded these albums at the same time? Because Reload
wrote a lot
sounds better.
Yeah, so I'm sure they probably did. If you remember that, I'm pretty sure they probably did.
I saw my ticket stub in here. I saw Metallica at Giant Stadium in 2003 for the Summer Sanitarium tour.
Was that the one with Jerry Cantrell and Days of the New?
I don't believe so. I think it was like, who the hell played with them? Oh, Deftones played with them.
Okay, because I saw him on this tour at Giant Stadium, but it was Jerry Cantrell that opened.
That would have been.
I mean, it could have been. It was a long time ago. That was 2003 that I saw it. So
did you see them with Queensryche on the Injustice for All tour?
I did not.
No,
that's what I saw.
Meadowlands had the Cult.
We had Queensryche, and it was Operation Mindcrime. They did every song, and then the lady wore black. Just all.
I know. I couldn't believe I missed it because I was a huge Queensryche fan at the time. I was pissed that it was the Cult, but they were still good. But yeah.
Yeah, I like the Cult too. Yeah, that
Limp
Queensryche.
Limp Bizkit played with them on this tour.
Ugh.
The tour.
But yeah, I saw them 3 times on the Black tour, and 2 of them were in Salt Lake City, and one of them was really cool because it was in Seattle. I drove to Seattle, and it was a co-headlining tour with Guns N' Roses, and they had to reschedule, so it was the very last show of that tour. And it was really cool. So they had Metallica come on. First it was Motorhead, and then Metallica, and then Guns N' Roses, and then they kind of played together at the end, and that was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, I saw them about 4 or 5 times on the Black Album tour. I saw them early on, which was really good, at Nassau Coliseum. I think that was their longest show ever. It was like almost 3.5 hours.
Wow.
And I saw them on that tour also with Guns N' Roses, but we had Faith No More instead of Motorhead. But we didn't. My brother and I didn't stay for Guns N' Roses, and it's good because that night they didn't come on till like 1:30 or something. Ridiculous, you know.
Oh, Guns N' Roses was amazing when I saw them. It was just, oh my, they were great. Metallica was great, and they were great. It was the last show, so Axl was kind of on a little bit better behavior, I think, because it was a lot of fun.
When I saw Motorhead, I saw him at a little club near my house. It's called The Chance. It's a tiny club. And who opened for them was Morbid Angel. You guys ever listen to Morbid Angel before? Freaking,
yeah, I've heard them.
They're like death metal. I didn't like them when I first heard them, but I like them now. But anyway, so back to Reload. Dude, the last song, Fixer, that is a heavy freaking song. It's a long tune too. I know.
Yeah,
I like Low Man's lyric. What were you gonna say?
That song.
I said it's pretty reminiscent of Outlaw Torn or Bleeding Me.
You don't like Low Man's lyric, Aaron?
Well, to tell you the truth, I only like 4 songs on this record.
Really?
And I love Metallica. It's the only record that I don't like most of the album of Metallica. I think it starts out with a bang with Fuel. The Memory Remains, I'll throw that into it. I mean, it's all right. It's not my favorite, but I love Devil's Dance. I love The Unforgiven 2. I like Better Than You, and then I don't like a single other song on it until Fixer. I just think that's all the weakest stuff they've ever done. This is my least favorite Metallica album by a mile, and I just don't like. I've been listening to it. I listened to it 3 times this week, and I just couldn't get into Carpe Diem, Baby, Bad Seed, Where the Wild Things Are, Prince Charming, Low Man's Lyric, and Attitude. I just can't get into any of them for some reason. But Devil's Dance, great. Better Than You is amazing. I love Unforgiven 2, almost better than Unforgiven. I like both of them a lot. I like that.
Well, tonight after this video, Aaron, I want you to just listen to 2 songs. I want you to listen to the song Attitude.
Yeah.
And listen to Fixer. Just see.
I like Fixer.
Oh, you like Fixer? Listen to
Fixer.
Attitude, though. Attitude's a great song.
Well, I think Attitude and Better Than You again is the happy thrash.
Yeah.
You know.
But
I like
I just
the
listened
first 3 and Carpe Diem, Baby. And I do like Low Man's Lyric, but I think this album, for whatever reason, sounds better than Load. Like the production, it's a little bit crisper, I think.
Yeah.
On vinyl, they both sound really good on vinyl. This does sound great on vinyl. It does. But it's just I think that's the weakest stuff, the weakest area of any Metallica record out of any of their albums is that side 3 and 4 of this on the vinyl.
Well, anybody who's still watching this video out there, let us know. Do you like Load or Reload better? Or do you like them both the same? So let us know in the comments below whether you like Load or Reload better, or if you like them both the same.
I think they're completely
different. Call me crazy, but I think Fuel saved their career.
Yeah.
Because they had such a negative response to Load, even though it did well.
Mm-hmm.
When they came out with Fuel, even though Reload is such a weak album compared to Load, it was, I think people were not surprised when Reload came out.
Yeah.
It was a shock. What's that?
Fuel just has that, feeling.
Right.
Against
yeah. Fuel is when Metallica, to me, you said this was the same, one era. I think Reload is almost a different era because I think this is when Metallica became a pickup and tattoos band. Those Midwest, Shinedown and all those bands that are popular with like
Yeah.
men and women, they were no longer like a metal band. They were a mainstream, like put them with like Nickelback. Not that they're like Nickelback, but like that same group of fans was now a Metallica fans.
Right.
You know,
The new metal crowd.
right? Like whatever. They weren't a Hot Topic band, but you know what I'm saying. Like Fuel brought them into that. I think. You know.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think they kind of probably wanted to go there in that direction too, obviously with their sound. You know, I mean,
I personally think they're lost. They've been lost since the Black Album on what they actually want to do and who they are, and that's why I think they keep trying to make albums that go back to their original sound.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's why I like Hardwired better than Death Magnetic, because I feel Hardwired is, well, I think the production's better, but I also feel that it's a good balancing act. Like they have some thrash on there, but they also have some songs that could have fit on Load or Reload.
I think this is a masterpiece. I love this album. I'm totally the opposite on this. Like songs like Cyanide, Broken Beat, and Scarred. I love those two songs so much.
My only problem with that record is I feel like, I kind of agree with Pete. I feel like they're sort of chasing a sound, but I also feel like there's too much going on in that album. Like it's hard for me to concentrate. I feel like there's too many tempo changes. I feel like they're trying to do too much in each song.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was
Final, amazing sounding. That song just
yeah, because that album is famous for being part of that loudness wars, that it's pushed to the limits that it's almost comes out distorted.
Yeah,
is it that way on vinyl too, or no?
Well, you can fix it on your stereo and just change the equalization a little bit. It's
Yeah.
I think it sounds great on vinyl, and I put the thing that never comes on, and it's just like it just has this build to it, and it's I love it. I really like it a lot.
I might have to listen to that record on vinyl, because I don't like it on CD just because of it clips and there's some distortion. But maybe on vinyl it sounds better.
Yeah.
I did a video on that album. It was actually one of my first videos I made. It was like I listened to it again and reviewed it again. And I still didn't really care for it too much. But the last song, My Apocalypse, that's killer. That's like really old school.
Cyanide. I love Cyanide so much, man. I just love that song. And The Day That Never Comes. That was just I love this album.
Yeah.
But everyone has their own thing. That's great. No one like the same thing. Otherwise, everyone would have the same record, and there'd be one record that everyone listened to, and that's it. So I like that people like different.
And we didn't even talk about it, but the album S&M, that has a couple new songs on it.
Yeah, I was going to mention that those songs. That's why I think Saint Anger was such a disappointment to me, because those two songs were really great, and then
They're good.
They were almost better than anything on the last two, and then they come out with Saint Anger. I was like, damn, you put out these songs and now you do this?
Yeah, because one of them's called 4-Leaf Clover, isn't it?
Yeah, and the other one
No Leaf Clover.
No Leaf Clover. Okay.
And then
and I absolutely hated that song. They did, was it I Disappear?
For like Mission Impossible 2 or 3 or whatever. Yeah.
That was terrible. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, this is a good album. I like this one too.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get up, but I wanted to show you guys. Have you guys ever heard this?
I've heard it. I don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, live and acoustic. This is such a cool record. Look at that. Now we're pulling out all of our Metallica stuff.
This is a great year.
They do some really cool, just different renditions of their songs. Almost, it's acoustic, which is really cool. And then they cover Nazareth on here. They cover Blue Oyster Cult, so it's a cool record. But now
this is a special one because it has Mr. Neil Young, and they do a version of Mr. Soul. It's killer, really good.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, now we've gone beyond Reload.
Well, that's all right.
We said we weren't going to do that. Well, I don't know. So before we wrap it up here, I mean, any other last minute thoughts on, the Black Album or Load or Reload or anything?
Like I've said, it's my least favorite era of Metallica, but I still love it. I mean, I love all Metallica. I'm not. It's just out of their eras. Their early stuff by far is the best. And I like the later stuff from Saint Anger on a lot. And the middle stuff is good, but it's just like they were lost a little. But I do love Load. I do really like the Black Album a lot. Reload has great songs, but I think it's weak in parts. And I like them all. Even Reload, the songs I don't like, they're still good. It's just compared to their other stuff, I don't like them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like we were saying before, I think Load and Reload and even the Black Album, I think have aged well. They don't sound dated at all. And like I said, I was listening to this album today, the Black Album I'm talking about. And I'm telling you right now, those last the last four songs of Man, God That Failed, My Friend of Misery, The Struggle Within, man, those are good songs. And you don't hear those that often.
I was thinking the same thing when I was listening to that today too. I listened to all three of these on vinyl today. I've listened to them all week in my car on the CDs. So, it's not like I haven't heard them in a while, but I was thinking the same thing. The end of it it's almost better than the first half.
Yeah. Like, I don't think I need to hear Enter Sandman ever again. I like it, but
I still like it. But my friend's band played it too.
It's so different. It's so different when you hear it, like, say, on the radio or on TV somewhere, or then when you actually listen to it on your system. It's just a totally different thing, Yeah. There's not that added reverb and echo that they do on the radio and everything. But isn't it surprising, though, that, Metallica has so few albums for being around, like, since 82, 83?
Yeah, because I think I just read they're going to be releasing only their 11th album.
Right. Does that count Lulu or no?
I don't know. I don't even know if you should count Lulu.
Don't get me going on Lulu. I love Lulu.
I think a lot of it's better than Saint Anger. I think. I mean,
I think Lulu's better than Reload, but there is some weird stuff on Lulu. But once you get the first couple songs, I think it gets way better. It's like one of those you have to kind of. It's kind of a journey thing. You got to be in the mood for it for sure.
I can't do Lulu, and I love Lou Reed. I love Lou Reed, but I don't know when he starts screaming.
Like the table.
Yeah, when he starts screaming, "I am the table," I'm like, "What the hell is going on? I am the table." Yeah. Ooh.
Can't change. He is what he is. I'm the table. I can't be a chair. I'm a table.
Yeah.
I can't be what I'm not, kind of thing. But still, I get what it's goofy.
Maybe I'll have to listen to that album again. I don't know, but I can never get through it. But well, this has been fun, guys. I think it was kind of neat hearing all of our different opinions about the albums, and I think the three of us sort of agree that these albums have aged well. I mean, they're not. It's not Master of Puppets. It's not Ride the Lightning. It's not Injustice for All, but it's still Metallica. It's a different era of Metallica. It's still heavy, but it's slower. It's a little bit more groovy. It's got a groove to it. I mean, we don't want to use the term groovy with Metallica. It's got a groove to it, but it's still heavy though. You can still bang your head to it, just in a different way. So, well, this is fun. Thank you guys, and anybody watching, let us know your thoughts. And we'll be back. Hopefully, it won't be as long as the last. I don't even know when our last video was.
It was a while ago.
Yeah. But I think we do need to talk about Death Magnetic and Hardwired and the S&M album.
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them. Right.
And what is it? Garage Days Revisited, or what is it called?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That to me is one of their best albums, period.
I agree. We could do a whole video on just that.
That's on it.
Yeah. So everybody out there, be on the lookout. We're going to hopefully try to get Ron Haggerty to join us as well on one of these videos. So be on the lookout. But if you haven't already, make sure you sub Aaron Mutha Alamer. Make sure you sub Pete over at Pete's CD Vinyl World. These guys rock. And sub them, and that's it. So everybody enjoy. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks.